since we are doing beyond the numbers here.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's the whole idea.
So I'll go through.
We'll go just the numbers.
We'll go through these statistics right here.
Okay.
These ones I don't have memorized, so I'll look over those, and then I can go over some of the commitments that the company has as well.
Okay.
And then if you need someone else on the show, the Barron sisters with Barron Family Law, they do mediation and they try to save people money.
Okay.
So they would actually be great. I can give you their contact
Yeah,
information, but I mentioned to Aaliyah Barron, what your show was about, and she was really excited. She was like, tell him I would be interested if you'd have me. So.
That'd be great. No, I'm always looking for guests.
Yeah.
So that would be wonderful. I'm booked up through early October, so.
Okay.
I'm still looking to book the rest of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, she and her sister would be a good asset for you guys.
Contact you, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy them. They're a lot of fun.
I was going to see if we can get more water if you want, but I think we don't have time. But between the ice break, we can get more if you're ready for more. So.
Sounds good.
At some point, I want to get into whether it's this one or the next. Like, maybe, this weekend, like what you most enjoy about the job, what's most challenging, that sort of things. And then at some point, get into like lessons learned, what you've done that's worked, what you've done that hasn't worked, etc. Stuff like that.
It's a fun song.
And we're back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on my 105.5 FM. Mark Bellows here, your host of this weekly business talk show. I am a tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen in the Roseville office. My number is 916-784-7800 or mark.bellows@claconnect.com if you want to get a hold of me. Every week we also do the show live on Facebook and then take that video and put it onto my YouTube channel, Mark Bellows. You can find me there. Find my YouTube channel so you can watch it in the future. And unfortunately today we're having some kind of technical difficulties, so we lost the Facebook feed and I restarted it. So I don't know if it's the smoke that's messing up the Wi-Fi or what, but whatever it is, we're back on the air there. We've been steady on the air here and talking today with Jenna Sullivan, Market Director for California Family Heritage. And so what have you got there in front of you? Some statistics.
Sure, yeah. One of the things that I was just going to talk a little bit about is, which we did touch on a little earlier, but just how staggering some of the numbers are. With cancer, we talked about how it's 3 in 4 families, 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women and children that are being affected. With heart, it is 1 in 3 deaths in the United States that come from heart attacks, heart disease, or stroke. Every 34 seconds, someone actually suffers from a heart attack or a stroke, every 40 seconds. And it's actually the leading cause of death for Americans. So cancer, does have a lot of propaganda out there, and it is highly publicized, and a lot of times heart takes a back seat.
Right.
But it actually is the leading cause of death. And it's also often undetected, but congenital heart defects affect approximately 40,000 infants each year. That's triple of childhood cancers.
Well.
So I always tell people, not to overlook that piece of it. Strokes are also the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States. And over 1 million Americans are going to suffer a heart attack just this year. So, just something else that I like to bring to people's attention because, again, most people think, my blood pressure's good, I have a healthy heart, I don't have diabetes, but everyone has certain levels of stress, and, your heart can be affected by, a number of different things.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
just for people not to overlook that. With accident, which is the other catastrophic events that we cover, this year there'll be 15 accidental deaths and 4,370 disabling injuries every hour. So also very stifling numbers.
Yeah.
Accidents are actually the #1 cause of death for children in the United States. And more than 8.3 million children and teenagers are treated in emergency rooms every year. So again, just things that we don't think about. We know kids are accident prone, but knowing that those numbers are there, and that you can get something that's going to give you that huge cash influx if something happens, can make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially because, like we talked about, if these things don't happen, the fact that you're getting your money back, is a great way to have something like this without worrying about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish my auto insurance gave me all my money back if I didn't get in an accident.
That'd be great.
That would be amazing.
So let me ask you, speaking of accidents, so let's say you're vacationing somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
right, and someone gets in an accident, right, and you hear about it in the news,
Right.
not infrequently. And so someone gets injured, and maybe it's an ICU kind of thing or whatever. So
Sure.
I imagine that somehow in the policy there's a lot of costs that people don't even think about that are associated with that. Of course, you've got the medical care, which theoretically my Kaiser policy or my Sutter policy covers that. But
Yes.
there are so many other costs
Right.
associated with it.
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, there is outpatient charges, there's additional medications sometimes that aren't covered, there's deductibles, there's co-payments, and loss of income. I mean, if you're in a major accident, you are out. Like we talked about, how long does your disability cover you? How long does your work cover you? What does that look like, and how long, are you disabled or out of work? Especially if it's, not just an accident. What if it's, a heart attack or stroke, or what if it's cancer? I mean, these things that we're covering are covering people when it's, something major that happens, and that makes a huge difference. I mean, ICU, just for an example, on our elite policy, we give people, $1,600 a day, the first 30 days they're in ICU.
Right.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
If you're in there, my uncle actually just had pancreatitis. He was in for 3 weeks. We paid him every day he was there. It made such a big difference when he got out and was able to get, all of that cash deposited into his account.
Right.
Even though he had, great health care that did cover those charges, he was out of work, and it made a massive difference having that. He actually works at Disneyland. We're going to visit him this weekend.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Nice. And you're taking your son.
I am.
Nice.
Yes.
First time going to Disneyland?
It's his third.
Oh, okay.
He's only 9 months old.
He's
I'm a
got to,
big
nice.
Disney fan, yeah.
Our family is too. So how long has Family Heritage been in business?
Sure. So we've been around for 30 years.
Okay.
And then Torchmark, like I talked about, our holding company, has actually been around since 1900.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So they're, a Fortune 1000 company, over, 10 million policyholders.
Right.
And as we kind of touched on before, the backing and strength of this company is phenomenal. The fact that they're A+ with the Better Business Bureau,
Right.
A+ with AM Best Company. People can go in and research it, look at their awards and accolades, look at our customer service reviews. Our clients just rave about us, and it's not just because the product is phenomenal, but it's because the agents are phenomenal. Any agent you work with, everyone I've met so far and had, the honor of working next to, they all have so much passion for it. They believe in it. They're doing this because they want to help people and they want to educate people. They a lot of times want to handle their own claims. You can either call your agent directly, or you can call headquarters. You'll always talk to a live person in the United States. We're there to help you, anytime that you call.
Right.
But you can also just reach out to your agent directly. And the agents do such an amazing job of, holding that family's hand through the process. And because we see a lot of our clients pretty frequently, so you do develop relationships and really start to care, about all these families and, the outcome of these situations.
Right. So Family Heritage has been around for 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
and have these types, the policies that we're talking about now, have those been in place since that time? Is that what you
Actually,
started
we
with?
have some that are newer that just came out, all the different series, of course.
Mhm.
And so Series 6 is some of the latest and greatest, that just came out, and all that's doing is giving people more.
Okay.
So when you look over this, actually, we can look over this when the call is done, but it's amazing, what they provide for families, how much money they give them, and the way they do it is just phenomenal. They have algorithms that they do where they calculate, the numbers that you're going to be receiving as you're going through the process, but you're sending in that bill, and then they look, like I said, for every reason to pay you, as opposed to, every reason not to.
Right.
Something else that's unique to this company is a lot of different companies, if something happens, car accident, for example, right? They're either going to raise your rate,
Mm-hmm.
or some companies, if you had a disease like this, you're no longer insurable, right? And in your mind as a consumer, you think rightly so. I understand, I'm a risk, I'm a liability, I already have this disease, of course they're not going to insure me. And it's this, devastating reality. With Family Heritage, they never raise a rate on a policyholder. They never cancel on a policyholder. You have to cancel on us, you'd have to not pay your premiums, but we never cancel on anyone. And that's powerful, telling someone that the number that I'm giving you today is, your number forever. And every 25 years, all that money's coming back to you with these specific, new Series 6 policies. And, if the policy just keeps going, it doesn't stop after that.
Right.
And then, like we had talked about before, if something does happen to you, all of that money is going to your beneficiary. So, that loved one that you want all that kind of money to go to anyway. A lot of these policies also have built-in death benefits. So that person isn't only getting your premiums, but they, are also getting a death benefit along with it, which is pretty incredible.
Well, that's great. Yeah. So familyheritagelife.com is where people can find out more information about the Family Heritage Company and some of the policies and stuff. You mentioned the IRA link, which is what's the IRA?
Individual release authorizations, a testimonial. Fancy word for testimonials.
So you can see testimonials there, find out about Family Heritage Life and their products. So a little bit about you. You started out with Wells and you grew rapidly, it seems like, in your career. It sounds like. So what do you ascribe that to? Sounds like you had early success, and so you were doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, thank you. So in the beginning, I really looked at finance. I mean, if you think about why, most people either go through suicide, divorce, some of the, dark things that people are going through, it was all tied to finance. And being in banking, it was a way to shed light on that situation, educate people, show them about credit. Why don't they teach that in high school? I don't know. Yeah. But, educating people on credit, how to build their credit score, how to put them in a financial position to where they don't have to worry about, crippling debt or stress. I felt like I was really making a difference. And I've always been kind of propelled, by that purpose-driven life. And from a young age at 19, I started as a teller. And I would look at the screen and just think, okay, what's missing here? What's missing in this financial picture, and how can I help? And if you're looking at it that way with every person that's walking up, and you're not just trying to, cash their check and let them leave, but you're like, hey, if you did this would save you money. If you switch to this type of account, it would save you money. If you're trying to help them every single time, your career is going to go really far because you're always doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And people can sense that.
And you're doing more than your prescribed role,
right? Yeah, of course.
As you're hired, you recruit people, you hire people, and I do as well. When you're looking for talented people, I often look for that. Is someone going to do more than just what it is that they think they're supposed to do,
right?
Over and above. It sounds like you have been doing that, and so that gets noticed. And so,
right, absolutely.
And I think that's great. I mean, that's that really. When I've had a lot of entrepreneurs on over the years, and quite often that's a big piece of with the entrepreneurial spirit is looking for something different, something more, not just content to be doing the same old thing, right?
Right. Well, and the interest in growing people. With Chase, I promoted 23 people in a very short window of time, and it was for that reason. Okay,
we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation with Jenna Sullivan.
That was huge. I promoted 23 people in a year and a half. That was unheard of.
Yeah.
At Chase, you can't get promoted unless someone dies sometimes, or moves up, or it makes a huge difference. When you can promote people and people see that, they see the growth. That makes a big difference.
So, someone asked if there's a local office in Sacramento. So the local office would be Northern Stars Financial.
We all work from home.
Okay.
Yep. So we all have our own home offices. So all the areas that I mentioned earlier, everyone works out of their home offices in all those areas. So we will typically, because we're B2B, we usually meet people at their businesses.
Okay.
We can meet at residences, and then coffee shops, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Some people do have offices, that they've established, but they don't have to, which is kind of nice because a lot of insurance agencies require people to have, a physical office, and then they're paying that overhead.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, not necessary,
Oops.
Are we back? That was quick.
It's quick. We're back. Listen to Beyond the Numbers on 91.55 FM. This is Mark Bellows, your host of this weekly business talk show, Beyond the Numbers. Got Jerry in the production booth running the show here for us, and they can get a hold of me at 916-784-7800, or my email is mark.bellows@claconnect.com. And my guest today has been Jenna Sullivan, Marketing Director of California of Family Heritage. And so we're just talking about Jenna's. When she talked about her career earlier, I remarked that she grew rapidly in the business, in the various businesses she's in, and so there's a testament there to the way she works and the way she thinks, clearly, because everyone, people saw that and continued to give you more opportunities. And so I said, what did you ascribe that to? And so Jen was just telling us about that and mentioned that when you were at Chase, you hired 23 people and
Promoted. Yeah, and that makes a really big difference when people see promotions and they see growth. They think, okay, what do I have to do that?
Yeah, if you're in a stagnant business where you're not seeing promotions, it's like, where am I going to go in this place? Yeah.
Well, in corporate America, a lot of times, like we were talking offline, sometimes someone either has to, die or move or retire,
right.
For you to be able to move up in
Absolutely.
the company. So when people see that type of rapid growth, they're like, wait a minute, I need to follow that train, wherever that train is going.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference. And that's actually something that I love about Family Heritage is you automatically can move up and grow within your own career, and no one holds you back. You're not in competition with anyone. You're just competing against yourself.
Right.
So as you're going out and talking to different families and helping people, you can grow in your own career. You can build it. You can recruit your own people. And as you're going through that, there isn't anyone else, that is affecting you or holding you back.
Right.
And upward mobility, obviously, is something that most people, look for and aspire,
mm-hmm.
In a career. So that makes a big difference. And the fact that there's no ceilings, no ceilings to income. In finance, there was always a ceiling. You can only make in this role this much, right? So you were always confined to that. So having an opportunity where you look up and there's no ceiling, you don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Just like, wait a minute. Makes a big difference not having anything.
Well, why don't you maybe share with the listeners some of the things you've learned along the way
Sure.
as you've been in business for your career this far.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we kind of touched on earlier, always making sure that you have your client's best interest in mind it makes the biggest difference, as we kind of touched on, and that seems
and
really
clients sense that as well.
Right.
I've found. I think if they feel like you really do have their best interest in mind, they're much more interested in working with you. Which is, as one who's worked with people, you can tell that they're self-serving. Like, this doesn't really, it's not what I'm looking for.
Right. Absolutely.
Especially if you're developing a relationship with someone that's going to be a longer term.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you're sitting down with people and asking them questions, you're just trying to find out, hey, how can I help their life, right? How can I give them a better quality of life? If you're doing that, you have referrals come in, you have people that are praising you. It makes such a big difference to your business, to your network, to your community, and to your growth.
Right.
And so as you're doing that and going through that process, if you're just trying to touch as many lives as you possibly can in the shortest duration of time that you can and make the biggest difference that you can, there's nothing that's going to be able to stop you.
Yeah.
And you're going to keep moving forward and keep moving up, at a rate that you've probably never seen before. But a lot of it also comes, from motivation. And with careers like this, it's a lot, self-motivating.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Positivity. Especially something like this, we're talking about some pretty devastating stuff, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily a fun subject, talking to people about cancer.
Not the best lead in a cocktail party.
Yeah, heart attacks and major accidents. Those are pretty devastating topics, and honestly, they're topics most people don't want to think about.
Of course.
Ever happening. And when you're, going through this with people, it is, very devastating. So making sure, you're staying motivated, keeping your purpose in mind.
Yeah.
And, as you're growing and talking to different families, at the aftermath of it, once, you're helping them, and those letters that we talked about are coming in, those testimonials, that's where it makes a big difference. This is the first company I've ever been a part of where grown men cry on conference calls. We'll, have morning conference calls, and they're so touched, by what's happening with their clients, with the families, how they're helping, even when they receive that check back. Because like we talked about, if you don't use these policies, you get that return of premium.
Right.
A lot of people forgot. They've had it so long, they forgot they even get all their money back. And so when they receive all of that, we get testimonials from that, just saying, oh my gosh, thank you for doing what you promised. And thank you, for sending this back to me and making a huge difference. I needed it at this moment in my life. So it's pretty incredible.
And so you kind of are touching on getting to your why.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we get to our why we're doing what we're doing, then it makes it, on the one hand, easier for us to do what we're doing, to enjoy it, and then I think that to succeed as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important, and I think that's, you were kind of touching on that, the why for what you do. And so kind of corollary to that, if you will, is maybe it's an example of some, know if I want to say, I don't like the word failure, but
Struggles?
setback. Yeah, it's struggle, something
Yeah.
you've struggled against, you came
Sure.
up against an experience you had or whatnot, and then maybe, for our listeners, like how you learned from that or what you learned from that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, one of the hardest struggles for me last year was, making that life choice. I had been in finance for 13 years. I was extremely comfortable. I, worked my way to the top and felt really good about where I was and had all of that knowledge and background. And then I saw an opportunity like this and said, wow, what an impact, what a difference I could make. But the gap between, making that jump and where I was paralyzing. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so scary.
For a lot of reasons.
For many reasons, yeah. You're looking at a completely different opportunity, a completely different pay structure. I was pregnant at the time with my son, and really had to make those type of choices. And so I talked to some of the different people on the team, some of the moms on the team, and said, what does this look like for you? And they said, we have built our residuals up. We're making, 7+ figure incomes. A lot of these ladies were making, $300,000-$400,000, and they're able to stay home with their children. They've built it up. They're talking on the phone, staying in touch with their teams, but they were really able to have a different quality of life. And I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong here? I'm putting in all this time and effort, and the cost and worth, are, it's astounding to look at. And I said, okay, I need to make a difference. I need to make a life choice here if I want to keep in my comfort zone and keep doing what I'm comfortable with, or if I want to take that leap of faith, do something that I am very passionate about, and that I see a future for my family and my child, and be able to have that with him, in 5 years' time. You're fully vested here in 5 years,
right.
Which is also in a lot of ways an anomaly. Most companies, it isn't that quick of a time frame.
Right. Yeah.
So, making that jump is probably the biggest internal struggle I've ever had, kind of making that big jump. And then now another struggle, that I was actually talking about with my agency owner recently is just the balance, right? Trying to balance it all.
Mm-hmm.
We're growing California right now, like I had mentioned before.
Right.
So, working with all the different team members, and it's in all different, parts of California.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure you're talking to all the families, working on your work-life balance. I think that's probably something that a lot of listeners can relate to, is keeping that afloat, keeping the work-life balance afloat, making sure you're spending enough time with your family and giving yourself, enough to your career to make an impact. So I would say that's probably a struggle, that I think all of us have at different times.
Absolutely, yeah.
And, I'm doing my best to balance it, but I will say working from home and having the flexibility to create your own schedule really gives that power back to you.
It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
Because you can make those decisions.
Yeah.
How you want to spend every hour of every day, how much time you're putting into work, what that looks like, how much time you're spending with your, your spouse or your child. And that's a huge power that most people don't have because they're afraid of the jump.
Right. Yeah. But take the jump, and then you get the risk, and then you get the reward.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And you get to, I think, again, which is important, you get to work on your why.
Yeah.
So your people work at the company, you believe in what you're doing, what they're doing, and that's important.
Of course.
So I know I feel that way at work myself, because I'm helping people, at least on one hand, build wealth, but also avoid paying taxes, which is a number one goal of so many people.
That's awesome.
I don't want to pay taxes. I want to pay the least I can. But there's more to financial health than that. But certainly that's a big piece of what we do as well. So I get that, the why piece, which is important. We're talking with Jenna Sullivan, California Market Director for Family Heritage. If you want to get a hold of her, it's 530-619-9100. You can also email her, Jenna, Jenna, at northernstarsfinancial.com. And if you want to learn more about Family Heritage, familyheritagelife.com. Again, they're looking to continue growing in California. So we've got a lot of California listeners both on the air and on Facebook. So if anyone's interested, get a hold of Jenna. She can let you know more information and kind of let you know what this, what Family Heritage is about and what they're looking for. Are you recruiting a certain number of agents, or just continues?
We just have so many areas that we need them,
right.
And we want to touch as many families as possible. So I don't necessarily have a number in mind. I'm just looking for quality people that are looking to make a difference, and that want that level of flexibility.
Right. And you mentioned everyone pretty much has home offices, so there are no commercial office locations they go to on a regular places. Everyone works
Yeah,
from
they
home
don't have to.
too.
Yeah, people can work from home. And again, having that capacity makes a huge difference for
Huge.
people.
Yeah,
Very convenient,
flexible.
waking up in the morning and your office is already there.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
It can also be, you got again, get back to the balance. You got to be able to balance the fact that the office is right there, so it's so easy to go work.
It's true. And
Yeah.
some people actually choose to work in different territories for that purpose.
That makes
so,
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Jen, for being on the show today. Appreciate it, everyone. Hope you have a great week. You've been listening to Beyond the Numbers, and we'll be back next week. Take care. Okay, finish this up.